So now we're going to be looking at kings and generals. Why were Alexander's body and tomb so important? And wait. Then next we're going to look at what happened to Alexander's tomb. All right. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get to it.
This video was sponsored by The Great Courses Plus. Go to thegreatcoursesplus.com today to start your free trial. On the 11th of June 323 BC, Alexander the Great passed away. Following his death in Babylon, his body became a continuing source of war, intrigue, and mystery. His body and his tomb were lost. Yet the legend lives on, and historians are still trying to uncover clues to their whereabouts. But how did this all come about? Why did all records of Alexander's tomb abruptly cease? In this two-part documentary, we shall unravel the history surrounding Alexander's tomb and attempt to answer this question. This is the story behind Alexander's body and his tomb. Almost immediately after Alexander's death, chaos erupted, as the Macedonians quickly began arguing over the fate of the empire, leaving his body unattended for many days in the Babylonian heat. Legend has it that upon returning to the corpse, to everyone's amazement, they found it in pristine condition, untouched by decay. Perdiccas, the highest-ranking commander in Babylon, then had Alexander's body embalmed and placed in a golden coffin. For the next 2 years, Alexander's body remained in Babylon, as Perdiccas and his followers oversaw the construction of a funeral carriage unlike any other the world had seen. The carriage was designed to resemble a great temple. It had beautiful Ionic columns, encircled by paintings depicting Alexander and his army, and was covered with gold. It was to be pulled by 64 mules, each bearing a golden crown and bell. Upon its completion, Perdiccas ordered that Alexander's body was to be escorted home to Aigai in Macedonia, the traditional resting place of the Macedonian kings. Yet the plan went horribly.
So Perdiccas really spared no expense. He wanted to really kind of put Alexander's body back home. I kind of like the way he's approaching this, but I've heard that Ptolemy just snatches the body. He essentially robs it and takes it to Egypt, where I believe it's placed until it's eventually lost to history. At least that's what I've heard, you know?
Wrong. The governor of Egypt, Ptolemy, was aware of the great wealth and potential of his domain, and soon grew ambitious, eager to get rid of Perdiccas' control. He believed he might achieve this by taking possession of Alexander's body, as it was a superhuman talisman representing authority and legitimacy in this new post-Alexander world. Whoever controlled the body held great sway. Ptolemy was not deterred by Perdiccas' precautions to keep the body, but he needed a daring plan. In 321 BC, Alexander's elaborate funeral cart left Babylon for Macedonia. Yet as the procession was making its way through Syria, Ptolemy made his move, bribing the escort, seizing the body, and diverting it to Egypt, where he
That is so wild. Alexander is so powerful that his corpse holds so much authority, you know? That's insane to me. But I just love... Ptolemy really just graved Rob right there. I don't know, I gotta find that a little funny.
Housed in Memphis, the traditional Egyptian capital. Perdiccas was furious, as his authority as regent had been severely tarnished. It was the opposite for Ptolemy, as Alexander's soldiers came from far and wide to swell the ranks of his army. Perdiccas immediately marched on Egypt with his army, his main aim to regain control of the body and restore his authority. In the ensuing war, covered in our documentary which you can see here, Ptolemy emerged victorious and Perdiccas was murdered. Alexander's body was now securely in Ptolemy's possession. He quickly began proclaiming the link between himself and Alexander, becoming the first of the Diadochi to put Alexander's image on his coinage, and emphasizing that he was a favorite of Alexander in his account of the conquest of Asia. Ptolemy also cultivated a local legend of Alexander. Rather than being the son of Philip of Macedon, Egyptian tales soon became widespread that Alexander was the son of the last Egyptian pharaoh, Nectanebo II. In 343 BC, the Persians had deposed Nectanebo, who had then died in exile. His pre-made sarcophagus in Memphis had therefore remained empty. It is likely Ptolemy had first placed Alexander in this empty coffin, and it was from there that this fabulous story took root. A pharaoh of Egypt could only be legitimate if he was related to his predecessor, so this tale helped portray Alexander as Nectanebo's rightful heir. It also established a connection between the Macedonian and Egyptian dynasties, a connection that only helped Ptolemy's cause.
It's amazing how, like, you know, Alexander's dead, but it's amazing how everyone uses, like, his corpse, his name, their association with him to essentially further their own agenda. Essentially, Alexander's become kind of a tool for everyone to use, you know? And yeah, I find that a little... I mean, it's interesting, definitely, and I get the pragmatic sense, but also just like, eesh, you know? But I get it. Like, Alexander's name is essentially the biggest name in the world, and every bit of legitimacy ties directly to him now. So, yeah. But I just think that's interesting of just how powerful of a legacy he left.
At the same time, Ptolemy began spreading the rumour that he was in fact an illegitimate son of Philip II, and thus the half-brother of Alexander. Both stories spread rapidly, and helped Ptolemy secure his rule in Egypt, thanks in good measure to his clever use of Alexander's body.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a...
Following the
Man, using a corpse to further your PR is kind of insane. I haven't heard something like that, you know.
climactic Battle of Ipsus in 301 BC, Ptolemy had Alexander's body moved to the centre of his new capital at Alexandria and placed in a new elaborate tomb. The city had been founded by Alexander back in 331 BC, but had only recently been completed. Immediately, Ptolemy set about promoting Alexander adulation. Not only did he have Alexander publicly honoured as the founder of Alexandria, but he introduced a state cult of Alexander throughout Egypt. His statues were erected far and wide, while processions and festivals centred around the great conqueror also appeared. In 283 BC, Ptolemy I passed away. For the next 150 years, Ptolemy's descendants would rule Egypt, and the memory of the great
with plenty of incest to go around. I'm always joking around the incest and the Ptolemies. You know, I do it in good fun, guys. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but yeah, I just hate the family tree though. Like all the dudes were named Ptolemy and all the women Cleopatra. Like, ill. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. Let's get back to this.
king was crucial for their dynasty. Almost immediately after his father's death, Ptolemy II, Philadelphus, had him deified and worshipped alongside Alexander. The message was clear. In both life and death, these two kings were inseparable. Philadelphus also created a new religious festival in honour of his father, the Ptolemaion. Hosted every 4 years, this festival attracted many thousands of visitors, not only from Egypt, but all around the Greek world. Fortunately for us, a description of the Ptolemaia, staged in 275 to 274 BC, survives. Dubbed the Grand Procession of Ptolemy Philadelphus, it was an extremely lavish parade through the center of Alexandria. Soldiers, animals, gems, gold, and images of gods, especially Dionysius, all featured, emphasizing the unbounded wealth, splendor, and power of Ptolemaic Egypt. Alexander was central to the procession. First, his statue appeared on top of a great float, accompanied by another statue of the now deified Ptolemy I, both wearing gold diadems of ivy leaves. Following this came a golden statue of Alexander in a chariot, towed by 4 elephants and surrounded by statues of the gods. This procession reminded the onlookers not only that Alexandria was the home of Alexander's body, but also of the inseparable link between it and the Ptolemies. Desiring to further emphasize this link, Ptolemy IV Philopator placed Alexander's body in a new royal burial complex in circa 215 BC. It soon became known as the Soma, or the body, named after its main exhibit. This new mausoleum was almost certainly visually majestic, perhaps inspired by the famed tomb of Mausolus at Halicarnassus. The complex may also have been circular, in its turn possibly inspiring the great tombs of the Roman emperors Augustus and Hadrian. Inside the enclosure, Alexander's body was placed in an underground chamber along with remains of the Ptolemies, once again emphasizing the closest possible link between the Ptolemies and Alexander. The Soma soon became an iconic feature of Alexandria. From far and wide, visitors would journey to Alexander's city and see his marvelous tomb. It was a place of pagan pilgrimage. Still, no dynasty can last forever, and by the beginning of the 1st century BC, the Ptolemaic dynasty had become a shadow of its former power. So great was its turmoil that in 89 BC, King Ptolemy X had done the unthinkable. In desperate need of money to pay his mercenaries, he melted down Alexander's golden sarcophagus, replacing it with one made of glass. Regardless, Ptolemaic power continued to dwindle, and within 70 years, a new power would be ruling Alexandria. A power that also had a keen interest in Alexander's tomb, but for very different reasons: Rome. While creating this documentary, we used the series of lectures.
Okay, is he done? So yeah, that was kind of like a Ptolemy video. It felt like, but it goes to show you, I like immediately deifying Ptolemy after his death, the first Ptolemy, and then like linking them to Alexander. Like it really does kind of give an air of prestige. Like, hey, look, we have the body. These two were inseparable. Might have been half brothers. It definitely would give off the illusion that he's the most legitimate of the Diadochi. So I think that was smart in terms of PR move and image and like reputation booster. Ptolemy definitely probably did the best, and he really recognized the importance of the body. So overall, yeah, I have to give it I always did say that of the Diadochi successors, that Ptolemy was my favorite, even though I always joke about the incest. I know he wasn't the only dynasty to ever do that, but like, I don't know, I just joke about it. But I really do, in all seriousness, find the Ptolemies very interesting, and probably my favorite of the Diadochi successors of Alexander, and also the longest lasting too. They outlasted everyone else, so definitely that there is something cool to that. And yeah, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow when we cover more about Alexander's tomb. Bye everyone.